A reading from the Holy Gospel according to St. John.
Glory to you, O Lord. Glory to you.
Let us be attentive. At that time, Jesus wanted to set out for Galilee, but first he came upon Philip. "Follow me," Jesus said to him. Now Philip was from Bethsaida, the same town as Andrew and Peter. Philip sought out Nathanael and told him, "We have found the one Moses spoke of in the law, the prophets too, Jesus, son of Joseph from Nazareth." Nathanael's response to that was, "Can anything good come from Nazareth?" And Philip replied, "Come and see for yourself." When Jesus saw Nathanael coming toward him, he remarked, "This man is a true Israelite. There is no guile in him." "How do you know me?" Nathanael asked Jesus. "Before Philip called you," Jesus answered, "I saw you under the fig tree." "Rabbi," said Nathanael, "you are the Son of God, you are the King of Israel." Jesus responded, "Do you believe just because I told you I saw you under the fig tree? You will see much greater things than that." Jesus went on to tell them, "I solemnly assure you, you shall see the sky opened and the angels of God ascending and descending on the Son of Man."
Glory to you, O Lord. Glory to you. So just what are we supposed to see in that whole cloud of witnesses, the men and women of the Old Testament whose names and deeds the Epistle to the Hebrews holds up for us this morning? We're meant to see people who, because of their faith in a God whom they had come to know, lived a life of hope that enabled them to look beyond immediate gratification and all the bright and shiny things that call for our attention every day, allowed them to look beyond immediate comfort and convenience and hold out for something better because of their faith in a God who keeps His promises. That cloud of witnesses invites you and me to rethink the way we make the decisions we make every day. What did Nathanael see in Jesus that made him go so quickly from a kind of defensive, "How do you know me?" to, "You are the Son of God, you are the King of Israel"? Was it just that Jesus said, "I saw you under the fig tree"? Just like God saw Adam and Eve hiding behind the trees that may well have been fig trees in paradise after the first sin? What did Jesus see in Philip that made him decide Philip is part of the plan? What did Jesus see in Nathanael that made him remark, "Behold, a true Israelite, in whom there is no guile"? Guile is what the serpent in the garden had. Guile is how the serpent tricked Eve and brought down our first parents in the first sin. How do we see ourselves? Are we just our personalities, that collection of emotional responses that may be good or bad but become habits? Are we just the sum of our preferences, that is, the things we choose to consume and use and occupy our time with and entertain ourselves with? Is it just how we eat and drink and dress? Is that us? Do our politics define us? Are we defined by the roles we fulfill? Husband, wife, parent, child, employer, employee? Are we defined by our skills, our talents, what we can make money at, what people like us for? Some people see themselves defined by everything they've achieved in life, and they're tempted to become prideful. Some people see themselves defined by every mean, nasty, cruel, heartless, thoughtless thing everybody else has ever done to them, and they get bitter and hold grudges and refuse to forgive. How do we see ourselves? All those ways of seeing ourselves, they're based on choices we make. We could have chosen differently. All of those ways we see ourselves are based on the way we use, consume, handle, and think about stuff that's passing away. Because when you think about it, health, wealth, relationships, none of those things is forever. None of them. But Jesus says, you will see even greater things. You will see the angels of God ascending and descending on the Son of Man. That Son of Man whom Daniel the prophet saw coming on the clouds of heaven, receiving all power, dominion, glory, and authority from the Ancient of Days, God the Father, and all nations and peoples and languages will serve him, and his kingdom will have no end. Jesus says you can see that. You can see your relationship to that Son of Man, Jesus Christ, who reigns over this church in the holy icon of the Pantocrator behind the altar. What does God see in us? He sees his image and likeness that he built into us so that we could have a relationship with him uniquely among all his creatures. He sees that we're weighed down with earthly cares that can distract us and turn us away from him. He sees our sinful choices and our choices that settle for the second best of what's right here, right now, and won't last forever. He sees how those choices can disfigure his divine image in us. He sees how our pride can replace his divine image in us with some distorted image of ourselves that we turn into an idol and becomes our own God instead of the one true God. But he also sees the saints that he created us to be. And so on this first Sunday of the fast, the church invites us to look to the holy icons, to look at the face of God, the second person of the Blessed Trinity, true God and true man, Jesus Christ. And by looking at him, rather than the latest influencer of the day, to conform ourselves a little more to him and regain a little bit of that original beauty. Today the church invites us to look at the images of the saints and see the the light of God's grace shining through their very unique and very different life stories, all of which led them closer and deeper into relationship with God until they found their place in the kingdom of heaven. Today, you and I are invited to seize the tools of the fast, prayer, fasting, works of charity, the choice to forgive and be forgiven, to clarify the way we see the choices we make every day, to clarify the way we see our own selves, our own potential, until gradually we come to see ourselves as God sees us, because we dare to look into His eyes and return His transforming love.